What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch in the Roo, presented as always by our friends at Pure Options Craft Cannabis. First-time customers, free 8th of ProGrow at Pure Options Cannabis. Go to pureoptions.com. You can download the app, join their Pure Perks loyalty program. It's the best way to have upcoming deals, and they've got some incredible stuff coming in March and with March Madness. It's the best way to know what's coming right to your email box. Again, pureoptions.com. Locations in Lansing, Mount Pleasant, Muskegon, Detroit. And our Friday afternoon show brought to you by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the college basketball games. Get on Michigan State. Bet against Michigan to cover the spread, whatever it might be. Or just head down to Dacey's Taproom and Sportsbook off I-94 in Battle Creek for the in-house sportsbook and casino experience. Also, our Friday afternoon show brought to you by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. If you're looking for a place to, you're not going to be at the Michigan State Wisconsin game Sunday, or you want to watch the Michigan State hockey Friday night and Saturday night at Notre Dame to see if they can win a Big Ten title, whatever it might be. Front 43 and Cask & Company, incredible television setup, great place for a date night, a night out, and an awesome reservation system. Go to caskandcompany.com to make your reservation today. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Oh my God. I just had to leave the house. Didn't want to scream, wake up the kids, running down the street, and my socks are so wet. I can't believe what I just saw. Jase, are you kidding me? Trey, are you kidding me? Jaden, are you? Oh my God. I'm so delirious right now. Oh my God. Go green. Go white. Oh my God.
What's up, man?
So
that was your boy Sheehan.
I was going to say that sounds like Sheehan. Yeah. That's his response after the Trey
made me
Holloman.
it made me laugh so hard after the game. Dominic sent me Sheehan running through it. Does he live in the same weird neighborhood you do, or
he doesn't? I don't think he's in my Bohemia. I think he's out there somewhere.
You could hear his feet pattering down. I'm like, damn, dude, he didn't put any shoes on. He just hiked out of there. But I can understand if at that hour, I would be really newborn kid or something.
If he was in our neighborhood, given all the sewer work that's going on right now,
yeah,
it's just
he would have fell in some
puddles of mud and holes. Like, I would be really concerned if he was out running at night. We'd never hear from Sheehan again. It was an incredible. Not great for the 3 quick takes, I'll have to say. When a 60-footer goes in at the buzzer, there's a moment where you're like, But I was in better shape. There have been worse situations, to be honest. So I wasn't. And it was a fun. To be honest, man,
it was great to have that game over with, though. I don't know if we needed more free basketball after what we watched.
Well, here's what I'll say. I like both teams, not to Rasheed Wallace it here, but both teams played really hard. And what was so interesting about it is I think the fans there recognized it. Like, Izzo was obviously thought they deserved to win. He was, happy with the effort they gave and everything. The student section and the Maryland fans applauded their team as they left the court after that loss, which tells you something. Like, they could see the effort, and they could see how good Michigan State was and how difficult that game was for their team. It wasn't this frustration, boo, screw this group, never get it done in a big game
17
situation.
for 55 from the field.
No, it was like that was really.
Hey, guys, great job.
That was really hard. They almost made it all the way back. They got beat by a last-second shot. It was, what's fun about covering this Michigan State team is, and I piss all over the idea of I don't care, wins and losses don't matter to me and all that stuff all the time. And
you're not a fan.
I know that can get annoying and
no, I like it. Everybody, I think, enjoys it.
Yeah. Sure. That's exactly what
I can separate things.
But it is fun to cover a team that is enjoying itself. And those guys, when they got in the locker room, quickly were pulling up their phones to rewatch the replay. They all wanted to see it. I sent it to my wife because people played the end of like Titanic music, and she loves Titanic. So that let her know that I was covering a basketball game, because I never know when I'm on the road if she knows I'm at a basketball or
the
football
only time
game.
She's proud.
And she, she didn't even then she didn't watch it, so she had no idea until I got home that I was at a basketball game. But no,
it's great to have a wife that supports you. It's nice of her.
It keeps me from getting sick.
But
of
I
this
never
stuff.
watched what you sent. Yeah.
If like Matt Sheehan was my wife.
You guys would be 69ing all the time.
No, I would go home and
never breathe.
By the end of like our conversations tonight, I would be so sick of MSU basketball that I wouldn't want to do my job. The beauty is I have separation.
With wet socks,
Yeah, coming home, just wanting to sleep with you at night after every MSU win.
I love the passion.
Have that.
I love the passion. Him and Tony Dombrowski. I just don't know, man. That's just unbelievable passion.
The passion to me is what the passion's incredible. I mean, the passion, the fact that people care so deeply, and that this improves people's lives and everything is what, first of all, allows this show to happen.
Yeah,
it allows my job to happen. And we ought to be able to have fun in life. And this, I think a lot of people are enjoying this team in this season. They're likable even when they don't shoot. Like, think about a team that is shot as poorly as this team sometimes shoots, that's been this likable, that wins this many games at the end, that wears teams down. You have to be likable to shoot like that and be this beloved.
You have to play very well defensively as well.
Which
they have been the past couple games. It's the stats are mind-blowing that way. But that was my first thought when you were saying the guys grabbed their phones. They wanted to see that last second play. And in my mind, I'm going like, a couple of those plays in there, guys. I just want to, are we good? We make sure, right? We play basketball, right? Because it was just one of the worst complete basketball games, right, from both teams I've ever seen. And we got fans from the Maryland fans are clapping for their team after that performance. I'm like, okay. So it was hideous, but hey, man, when you can get a victory like that on the road at the last second.
It was the game more than any game I've seen to this point that changed my opinion about this Michigan State basketball team ceiling. Which, given that they had just beaten Illinois on the road, Purdue at home, and Michigan on the road, is saying something because, and I'll tell you why. At the beginning I thought Michigan State was going to lose this game. And I didn't know 5-6 minutes in whether they were going to win it, but I knew I was wrong about the matchup. Like, you can look at all the things on paper in terms of, well, they got two big guys that are going to be tricky, and they got shooters and all this stuff. Within 5 or 6 minutes, I knew Michigan State was the better team and was fine in this matchup and was up for this. And one of the things I wrote about in the quick takes, I did 2 of them. I did 6 takes.
Whoa.
It was worth that much. Was this self-accountability and this hunger and this drive you see from these guys that is becoming increasingly noticeable. And so I'll watch just players interact for a while. And watching, I brought up the instance of Frankie Fiddler missed a coverage and gave up a 3-point shot. Goes down to the other end within seconds, gets up a shot, draws a foul, good play on the other end. He's barely landing. And his teammates are swarming him. And it has nothing to do with the good play he just made. They're trying to figure out what happened on the other end and why they missed that defensive coverage. Like, there is an immediate accountability. There is a care. At one point, Carson Cooper is talking to Jase Richardson. I mean, this is Jase Richardson, who's become this huge deal, potential NBA draft pick. Arguably has an argument, I think, to be in the conversation, certainly for Freshman of the Year. He's their guy. Carson Cooper at one point was the 10th man in a 10-man rotation, and obviously he's had a better year since. Feels like he's in his place to say something to Richardson about a pass that he had thrown to Frankie Fiddler that was too soon. The reason Frankie Fiddler, I think, stepped out on that play on the baseline is he's supposed to be on the move, and Richardson's supposed to wait until he's moving, and he threw it to him when he was still over there. And like those sort of immediate accountability from everybody on the roster. And like on the play I was talking about before with Fiddler, when he missed the coverage, he goes over to Izzo like 30 seconds later, and Izzo's trying to yell at him. That's already been taken care of. The players have already done that. And you can see it in Jaden Akins.
Somebody please guard somebody.
How much he wants this. You just don't get teams like this all the time. You can have really talented teams, but you don't get groups where they're all is this sort of common goal, and there is an unselfishness. Xavier Booker is a guy who was, I think we've talked about, a huge recruit, been somewhat disappointing in that sense, was probably overrated, obviously, and hasn't developed as quickly as I think people would like, or his skill set maybe would think he could. And yet, a guy, and I know he's not the greatest body language guy. People have talked about that all the time, and that's sort of his natural look. He's got a Brad Osmus thing going on, whatever it is. Like it just, there are times where his body language isn't great, but he's got a stupid-looking face. Didn't say that about, did not.
Well, that's
say
what
that.
you said about Osmus.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's fair. But he comes into these games, and I thought he was pretty locked in against Maryland, but he comes in and he hits, a huge three in the first half against Illinois, a huge three in the first half against Michigan, huge three in the second half at Maryland. He's not taken more than 2 threes in any of their 4 games during this 4-game winning streak. Like there's an understanding, and he's 5 of 11, I think it is, and like on those I don't know. That's a guy staying locked in. I don't know. It's. I'm not trying to spin shit. I'm just saying, like, up and down the roster.
It's 1 3 a game.
I'm saying up and down the roster from the guys who are making the biggest contributions, from Jase Richardson to the Xavier Bookers. There is a I don't know. There is a they're all on board, and they're all and it helps when you're winning. There's no question about it. But it is something you don't see every year, even with good teams, and I think that's noteworthy. Before we get into our Groovy Donut Twitter questions, my man, are you betting anything this weekend? By the way, this is what we're betting, presented by Firekeepers Casino and Sportsbook.
What do you think the spread is going to be Sunday? What does the nerd? What's your nerd guy say?
Oh, give me 13 seconds or 4 seconds.
All right,
maybe 3. All right, Ken Palm, my personal nerd guy. And by the way, Ken Palm is one of the best deals. Not that the LSJ subscription deal isn't amazing, but Ken Palm's like $20 a year. It's a pretty good deal.
What do you get? Sold all the lines ahead of time.
You get all and you get all the data. Yeah. 3 point. He's got Michigan State winning by 3. So Michigan State is a 3-point favorite, somewhere between 2.5 and 3.5. I'd guess is where that line hits.
Ooh,
that's tough.
I've been making some money on Michigan State as of late. Especially the way, are you going to pick against them? I guess I should ask that first. If you pick Wisconsin to win, then I'm heavy on Michigan State, obviously.
I'm probably going to pick Michigan State in this one, which people are not happy about, right?
No.
And I'm going to
do it for the bit. I mean, it's just
right. Just keep betting against.
You just tell people where to watch it, and that little thing there. And I usually just scroll down anyway, just to see what you pick.
Pick against them against Iowa too, and just keep betting against them. Yeah,
all right.
I will bet
for
against
the bit,
or I will pick against them rather in the Big Ten tournament, where I think they'll check out immediately. But I guess that's somewhat matchup dependent. But yeah, and the Wisconsin's really good, and I did think they were going to win this game. I think at home, I think this place is going to be just rocking. People are fired up about this team. They've been on the road for.
But can they shoot?
A couple big. Well, that's
what I'm wondering.
It is a 100% fair question, and yeah.
Other than that, I don't know what's going on this weekend. I mean, the Pistons, we can gamble on them.
Michigan State hockey, 2 big games. There's not a. There's I was talking to Chris York over at Skyman. Not Skyman. Pure Options. Jesus, fix that in post.
I might have to.
Holy shit! Seriously, that's our first.
It's all right.
That's not cool.
We know.
Pure Options. They're big. Yeah. Christopher York. I was talking to Christopher York over at Pure Options.
Yes.
And
free GoPro 8.
Yeah. And incredible quality. Big difference. It's like the difference between Milwaukee's Best and like Bell's Brewery, right? You just a big difference between Pure Options and their competitors. And holy crap.
Eric Schultz up first.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get it.
Just go ahead and shoot me in the face right now. So, and the story that I'll tell off this is he was recommending, he's a huge Colorado Rockies fan, that he's going to bet $5 a game against the Rockies all year.
Okay.
And he thinks there's money to be made. He thinks he'll win. And
is he going to roll it up, though?
I don't think
or is he betting just 5?
5 every game, and he thinks he'll win 200 times if he does that in the White Sox every game. I'm like, my face is red right now. I feel awful. I feel like.
Listen, man.
It
happens. It's a comment.
No, it's not. It's like having sex with your wife and yelling the wrong name. Is what I just did. It's not cool. It's the same equivalent.
Yeah.
You don't come back from that. My apologies. My apologies just to quality in general, and that's what pure options
Good Colorado Rockies baseball bet is how you get out of that one.
Yes, that's
on
right.
Both.
That's right. That's right.
Just tell your wife, well, hey, did you ever think about betting against the Colorado Rockies, honey?
Yeah.
I know I called you the wrong name, but solid bet. $5 a game?
We'll have to seriously look at what it takes to fix something in post. It's probably like a 6-week process.
Start over, delete it.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to Couch in the Rube.
Oh, shit. What a start. All right.
What a start. All right. So, are we ready?
Guess so.
Are we ready to dig into our Groovy Donut Twitter questions?
Yes, let's do it. All right.
These are not Quality Dairy Twitter questions or Speedway Donut Twitter questions. These are Groovy Donut freaking Twitter questions. We only do quality on this show.
Eric Schultz up first. Do you know what the coaching staff's expectation was for Richardson coming into the season? Was anything close to this seen as a possibility?
They didn't see this. I mean, I think they knew he could be a good player. I don't think anybody.
His dad saw it.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think there was a faith that he could be good. I don't know that he realized he'd be this good. There were people I talked to who watched practices last summer that said, "Boy, he pushes fears. He's going to play more than people think. Like he's clearly going to be in the rotation heavy." But like you go back to the beginning of the season, I don't know that they knew 100% in September that his role would be that much bigger than Kurt Tang's. Right? It just becomes very clear when he's on the. I think they knew at a certain point in practice.
Kurt Tang? I mean,
think back to that opening exhibitions and how the minutes people were playing and everything like that.
Yeah.
Again,
I think in practice you'd be able to see though, just the way he handles the ball, handles things. I mean, I don't know.
People knew he was good. They didn't know he was this good. I do not think that staff knew he was this good. Maybe somebody on there. It's a good question though. It's one that if I can get.
Like at what point during the season did
correct
they realize
or
that?
was there a practice where they get into a staff meeting afterwards and they go, okay, maybe we can get more out of this guy? Because I think for a lot of us, it was that Kansas game where he just stood out in a different way. And all of a sudden it was people talking about, well, he's their best player because he was their best player that day. And I remember I was real hesitant about that. I mean, Jaden Akins had really struggled then. But it was one game, but he clearly with the lights on bright, he was fantastic. And he was their most efficient offensive player. It was very clear to see that right away.
Next one from Eric. Is Michigan basketball the Minnesota Vikings of this past season? I can't believe these frauds might still win the league. Man, I really thought about Rutgers' money line last night too. I would have been pissed. 9.5 was good though.
9.5. It did pay well. I feel bad for MSU fans trying. I mean, I think Michigan State is still in a great spot, but it would have helped obviously if Rutgers had won. And Michigan still has to beat Illinois, and they still have Maryland ahead. I mean, there's some tough games. But watching Rutgers play defense, like there's nothing worse than watching a team you need to win for your team be that awful defensively. Like you'd almost rather it be the other way around where they just can't hit a shot like Nebraska the other night. Like when a team is that much of a sieve defensively, it's like, do they just not give a shit? Like how can anybody be this awful? And would somebody please guard somebody? For a moment in that game, and the real shame of it is I'm watching I'm thinking about those, you have 2 top 5 picks on your team, and I'm thinking, boy, in the Big Ten tournament, could this duo be motivated and make a run and everything like that? And then they don't have enough defensively. Somebody's gonna they may beat a team, they may get hot, they can really hurt you offensively. But man, defensively, that's not gonna do it over 4. What are they gonna have to play? 4 or 5 games, whatever it is. I'm not even sure where they are seating wise, but it's just not gonna happen.
Dominic next. Why do refs make calls that don't occur? Thankfully, it didn't matter, but Holloman's strip after his turnover was clean. Why do you call shit that that you don't fucking see? Like I said, ended well, but I still hate that fucking shit. And from Travis Maynard, how long before we see a coach's challenge in college basketball? I think I'd rather have that than a 6th foul, especially if you get an extra if you win the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my biggest complaints in officiating in anything is when you see something that didn't happen. Right? It's one thing to like get a judgment call wrong on a block charge on like
Or the ticky-tack stuff to change it to letting them play. Like, guys are falling all over the court, and then the next time down the court, you call some ticky-tack foul. I'm just like, what is happening here?
Refs anticipate too much. Yeah, no, I believe in challenges. I certainly believe.
Why not both? Why not a sixth foul and a challenge? Because I just don't want them to get away from the sixth foul, and I feel like if you give them a challenge that the coach could win their challenge back, I think then we get farther away from the sixth foul.
I think the big thing they need with 6 fouls is one player a game. You get one player a game. In other words, if it's not your key guy, if Carson Cooper gets to 6 and you got somebody else, or gets to 5 fouls, you got somebody else with 4 that's Jase Richardson, you can say, "No, sorry, Carson, we're fouling you out." But if it keeps a star on the floor. The biggest thing it does is it allows, and some coaches play guys with 2 fouls in the first half, and Izzo's done it a few times this year, different than other years, but some coaches just don't care about that much, and sometimes it pays off. I think, was it Nate Oates who was talking recently about the math of it, and just, he had a guy had 2 fouls early, and he kept playing him, and he finished the game with 2 fouls. Like, why sit him down? Like, you're going to pick up fouls, and you pick up fouls. I disagree, and the bigger problem is not the player; it's the refs that you cannot trust. And so I would like to at least have one player a game that could get to 5 fouls and not foul out. But I believe there should be replay or challenges in certain situations. Maybe it's the final 2 minutes of games. Maybe it's one challenge a half before that. I don't know what it is. You don't want to slow the game down too much, but you got to get things right, and you should be able to do it. The advances
don't want to slow it down any more than it already is. I mean, with the bonus and all this other shit.
With the advances in technology, we should be able to do this stuff quicker. Like, it shouldn't even have to be the refs on site. There should be people back in the Big Ten headquarters who can do this and say that call's wrong.
Hire Greg Peterson. He'll do it. I mean, the guy's watching everything anyway. Call him up. What'd you see in that call, Greg? Okay.
People don't know who Greg Peterson is anymore.
Right.
He came on the show like 6 years ago.
He's a legend. Look him up.
By the way, do you remember that interview? That was
he got mad at me because I was asking him about certain. I just named a random team. I said, "Can you name their starting 5?" I don't know.
So Greg Peterson, people don't know. He used to work for Vissen or whatever it's called, the Vegas
Information Sports Network.
Yeah, and he also
I think he still does.
He picks and does a podcast like every night where he picks every single college basketball game.
Yes,
it's like a 3-4 hour deal. You can't even listen. I mean,
he puts out his own numbers for it.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And the amount of work is incredible. You got to be wired a certain way.
Yeah. And he goes for like 5-10 mile jogs too, or some reviews beer thing. It's fascinating Twitter follow.
Yeah,
I recommend it.
The problem with and I remember talking to him in that interview. My problem with him is not a problem with him personally, but it's like when you try to pick 300 games, you miss some stuff. You're better off like narrowing it down, and you won't notice it if he's talking about Gonzaga versus New Mexico State, because none of us know Gonzaga or New Mexico State. But if he were to talk about the Michigan State game, there would be things he would talk about occasionally in the game where you go, because he's coming at everything from
You mean he hasn't crushed enough Michigan State tape when he's doing
when you're doing 300 games or whatever it is, 150 games a night, you don't have time. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah,
he's the best. Dominic, Jason, why does Couch cry online about Peacock? You think we care, Mr. Marriott Point Stacker? Welcome to How the Other Half Lives.
Peacock?
What were you complaining about?
It's not really about Peacock. It was the halftime analyst on Peacock, and this is a lot of places on the networks that are all tied into the Big Ten tournament, as they keep calling it the regular season title. And this guy, and I don't know who it was, and I should have paid more attention, but I was on the treadmill, and there's a soccer game starting in minutes. He just kept saying, winning the regular season Big Ten title isn't the be-all, end-all, but I thought you'd get more out of Michigan. Like, actually, it is the be-all, end-all. It's what you play for 2 or 3 months. Otherwise, these games are just irrelevant. You're just going – I mean, obviously you want to get in the NCAA tournament and have a seed, but, like, largely without that being the be-all, end-all, you are just wasting time in life, which is what the ACC apparently does, because they just count the conference tournament as their title.
You tweeted all of this?
No, but I'm just saying I'm sick of the people not understanding that in the Big Ten, the regular season championship is the championship. It's what's on the banner. I mean, that's the best. Like, go to anybody's, if they win a Big Ten tournament championship, that's what the banner says. If they win a Big Ten championship, the words regular season are not up there. And so let's just understand what is, and then once we can deal in basic facts, then
see, why is it I hate your passion? I like Sheehan's passion. I like Greg Peterson, Tony Dombrowski, but your passion is just like, I'm like, all right.
Because I have the most punchable face in the world.
Like Brad Osmus. Dominic, was Avon Barksdale hitting a half-court shot to win a game in the state of Maryland somewhat poetic? I picture it going like this. Graham, Trey, did you know it was good immediately? Trey, I ain't no suit-wearing businessman like you. You know, I'm just a gangsta, I suppose.
Quoting the wire now over here. Trey has always been one of my favorite people to talk to. And he was pretty excited. I mean, what I love, so he was asked, and I don't think, somebody asked him, was that the biggest shot you've ever hit? And there was like, yeah, it was almost, he was almost insulted. He's like, of course it was. Like, when have I hit a bigger shot than that?
How many game-winning shots have you hit in your career? Can you go through them all with us right now?
And it's not just,
oh my God.
I did feel bad for my friend Matt Wenzel, who's fairly,
who felt all of Fred?
I mean, I felt all of Fred Human. Well, that happens to all of us. But Matt was there, and Matt used to just cover MSU football for M Live, and now he covers both. And he asked basically, he asked Izzo if he'd been around a shot like that. And Cash has hit one at the end of the first half 5 years ago, and then Corey
you
Lucius
guys all laugh at him.
And then Corey Lucius beat Maryland on a NCAA. Yeah, no, it's
good one, Matt. But Izzo brought it up, so yeah. Sorry, Tom. He's a new guy here.
That's exactly. Yeah,
he's not used to having him around here. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, Matt.
Is that it? Oh,
you might have been there. That's not a perfect. That was like a word for it.
Spartan 18770. Graham, what do you think is the greatest threat to college sports at this moment? Oh, do tell.
Short-sightedness and greed.
Colin.
That combination. Yeah, like here's what I think it is. I think it's the Big Ten and SEC and a lot of play. I think it's the inability to see from the major players that what's best for everybody is what's best for them if you want to look 10, 15 years down the road. I think it's the inability to see that, and it's the greed of the moment, and that you're going to do things that are going to threaten the sustainability for some schools and more. And you want this thing to be a robust place 10, 15 years from now with fans who care, who are invested. I think it's the greed and short-sightedness of the moment that is the biggest threat.
Spartan, I just ate 2 boxes of Samoa's Girl Scout cookies, and I feel no remorse. Am I a psychopath? Well, did you do that sober? Because then, yeah. But if you've had some pure options, right, Graham? Pure options?
Pure options.
You know, or you've been boozing or something, and it's late at night, I think I understand that. But, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 2 boxes. 1 box. I've hammered a box, right?
So let me ask you this. When you get into, like, you know, when I'm over 40 mgs of pure options.
Look at this guy, 40 mgs. Man, must be the wife's out of town.
I would say at that point the double box of Samoa Girl Scout cookies could come into play.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's really bad with popcorn too. If I get some popcorn, it's just really disgusting. It's not. I don't want to be around anyone, even my wife, because it's an embarrassing look. So yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Late at night, I've hammered.
Yeah, no, it's raccoon gray income.
Thank God, being a type 1 diabetic kind of it has that thing in my brain where like, all right, you should probably not do that.
I mean, when I was what 10 or 11 or 12, I ate an entire cookie jar full of Oreos, and there might have been 2 packages in there. Threw it up that night.
Yeah, but that's when you're a kid, man.
Yeah, there's
always hammer sleeves of Oreos.
I wouldn't say my discipline's gotten a whole lot better. I mean, I don't do that anymore. I understand the consequences of that. Like, yeah. I mean, even since I was like...
You didn't grow tits when you were like 11 years old as soon as you ate cookies, you know.
No, it was different.
You don't have to worry about that now.
Like, even with Groovy Donuts, when we did, like 6 years ago now that we did the...
challenge.
The challenge, right? 9 Groovy Donuts in 10 minutes or whatever I got through. 10 Groovy Donuts in 9 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, and I will tell people to this day, the first 6 donuts were the best experience of my life.
Yeah.
By far. I mean, I remember thinking, God, this is incredible. Like, to not feel guilty about it, to eat 6 donuts. I mean, I wanted to enjoy it more than the pace I was. The last 4 donuts were tough, just because I'd already had 6.
So if you had all day, it would have been more enjoyable.
100%.
Like if we would have given you from 10 a.m. till like 8 o'clock at night, you could just hammer a donut here.
And here's the
Be
thing.
glorious.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Just can't shovel them in.
right. Like what I do now is when we get a dozen groovy donuts, we'll my wife and I will cut up pieces of them, and so we can have some of each right away.
Your wife cuts them up. That's her idea.
There's
no way that is your idea.
I like the idea because it helps
Well, yeah.
me eat in moderation and enjoy all of the groovy donuts. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Hey, what's that?
What she usually doesn't know, and this is the trick of the trade, is when you go pick up a dozen groovy donuts or 6 groovy donuts. By the way, groovy donuts open Thursday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., and they're open this weekend, Friday through Sunday, and today's Friday, so the Thursday doesn't matter, as they prepare for Fat Tuesday, which is coming next week. Get your Fat Tuesday orders in at groovydonuts.com. groovydonuts.com for your Fat Tuesday orders. They'll be open Monday to pick up pre-orders as well. But when you're on your way to either location in Williamson or Lake Lansing, I always get an extra donut or two. So by the time I'm cutting up those donuts with Elizabeth, she has no idea. I've already had 2.
You don't think
donuts.
she has any?
She has no idea.
No,
because I will come in and before I'll immediately make sure there are no crumbs on my chin or anything like that.
Like guys prepare after going to a strip club, getting the glitter off couches, trying to get donuts.
It's the crumbs.
Oh man, Matt C. Graham, can you start calling him Trazus Holloman next time you interview him? He's our new Lord and Savior. Trezus, like Jesus. Yes, sir.
I will not do that, Matt. But I respect the. I wonder if
way to let Matt C down.
Yeah, the thing about it is you have to have faith even after the turnover. Did you feel the same way after the turnover? Is what I would ask.
Scotty Green's El Camino. This MSU team has been elite when it comes to late game defense recently. Can you remember another Izzo team on a stretch like this where they just absolutely locked down opponents in such an important stretch of games?
Yeah, where they've been this good. I mean, the thing is, they were actually.
Somebody, please guard somebody.
They had some moments in the teams the last few years that were really good defensively, but that's a good question. To me, the 2019 team with Xavier Tillman and what he did to Luka Garza, to Lamar Stevens, to Caleb Wesson from Ohio State, and there's one more big guy, successively. What he was doing was just incredible, and that was a form of locking up. Any team with Cassius Winston was not as good at the point of attack defensively. That was Cassius got himself to the point where he was average, and they covered up for it. And you can cover up for guards, and Tillman made up for that. The last team that I think had this sort of defensive capability was 2014, where they could really where their guards were that good defensively and they had length. And the thing is, their bigs. I mean, I thought, Kevin Willard, the Maryland coach. I mean, he talked about how much their pick and roll defense and their bigs and the number of bigs they bring in, just how different that is than anything else. And if you haven't played against a Tom Izzo team, he kept saying, you're just not. And the fact that he can play so many of them and they're playing so well. Think about the way we thought about MSU's big men. And there have been some games this year where they have not been dynamic at all. But they were a huge part of the difference against a guy who's probably going to be a top 10 pick in Derek Queen. And, another big guy, and Julian Reese has been around forever, who's, a double-digit scorer. They really gave those guys fits. Now, that was their whole offense or whole defense collectively and the ball screens and all that. But no, they're playing at an elite level defensively right now. There's no question about it.
Scotty Greens, is there a more punchable face in college basketball than Andy Katz?
See, I don't see Andy Katz as a punchable face, and I know usually
He's got a stupid-looking face.
I know a punchable face when I see one.
Doug Gottlieb.
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah, it might be. I mean,
nobody really sees him coaching whatever Green Bay.
Anybody who annoys you usually has a punchable face.
I'm with you though. Katz has never really been that guy for me. Right?
I've never
seen him and been like, F this guy.
Yeah, never had that punchable face. There are lots of national writers and national people that I look at and go, punchable fucking
Dan Dockich.
Well, yeah, but that's beyond it. Like that punchable face guys doesn't usually mean like dude who's completely smarmy and annoying beyond belief. Like I didn't have any other issue with Brad Osmus. I mean, he wasn't a great manager, but you know what I mean? Like if Brad Osmus was sitting here today, I would have no reason not to like him.
I mean, I'm sure there's reasons.
What?
I mean, if we go back and look at his Tiger, I mean, Well, yeah, but not excited about
I'm saying
that,
as a human being, but Dockich, I'm pretty sure as a human being is
piece of shit.
Well, he behaves like one. I don't know if he is one.
It's
Yeah.
pretty easy. He's a piece of shit. Block me on Twitter. Scotty Greens, El Camino, and Scott, you next. Now that we know Jeremiah Fears is the real shooter and transferring to MSU, why isn't Izzo trying to get Jase Richardson too? Jason has said they haven't even offered him. He also said that Jase has carved his own path at MSU. Why can't Jackson do the same?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that they have 2 wings coming in and who are next year will be a year ahead of him or whatever. But I don't know exactly what all the decision-making process was. My sense was, talking to his family back when I did a Jase Richardson piece before Christmas, was that his brother was going to do his own thing, and that was something, but I don't know all the details on that. I just know that hasn't been a real, like, a thing as a recruitment, and I can poke around on that and find out why.
Scott, I so badly want Jaden to end his career on a high note, offensively and defensively. How do we make this happen? Need a flurry of threes and a breakout game in March.
I mean, that's what it would
I'm ready
take.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, you want it to happen in the right. I mean, boy, this Sunday would be a big one for it.
Whenever.
Yeah.
Whenever it wants to happen, we'll take it.
Yeah, really. The rest of the way, the Michigan game the following weekend. Yeah, any of those would be big for him and big for his legacy, frankly. I mean, he was hoping to be the guy this year. And that's not going to be how he's remembered for this team. And Jase Richardson emerging gave Michigan State that offensive threat. But the fact that, Akins hasn't sulked or gone into some shell or not been happy for his teammates. I mean, there's a lot of good in what we've seen from Jaden Akins. It's just not been the shooting. And he'd be the first to tell you it drives him nuts. He's very aware that if he had just had the shooting year he thought he was going to have, nothing more as a player, just the shooting year he thought he was going to have, he'd be averaging 16 or 17 points a game, and they probably wouldn't have lost a couple of those games they did. Like, he knows it. I mean, it drives him nuts. Here's a guy whose dream is to play in the NBA, and I guarantee he's just not going to be on NBA radars because he doesn't shoot well enough to do it or hasn't shot well enough to do it. And, that is what it is. But, yeah, I think the one thing that he's done well is I worried for him early this year that he was going to be the person that fans really dug into and didn't like. And I think he's been frustrating for people at times. But I think people like him and want him to succeed at a very, and I think a lot. I don't think that Scott Yu is alone here. That a lot of people would really like to see him have a great finish and good vibes.
Professor next. Who or what do we have to sacrifice for Akins to find his shooting touch?
Just firstborns, and
We have to sacrifice babies. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, get rid of all your low rent shitty weed and then go to Pure Options and get the good stuff is what I'm saying. Go to a place that will provide you quality where the experience and the offerings are you just notice the difference. That's what you want, and Pure Options is here for you. Again, download the app today, and it'll be right at your fingertips.
Professor, what's changed for MSU to get so much stronger in the paint? Indiana beat them up. Maryland was mostly stymied.
Well, some of that is matchup choices, right? Like Michigan State decided against Purdue, and Indiana was a little different, but even Indiana, they've decided at times if this guy scores inside, that's not going to beat us. One-on-one, a really good big man is going to score in a lot of matchups. Usually you help to some degree, but if you shut down the guards or frustrate, what they did with Purdue, I thought, where they got out on shooters and they frustrated the point guard, and they were willing to live with the power forward going one-on-one and scoring a lot of points. That worked. And so some of it's been by design here and there. They did not double Hunter Dickinson going way back to Kansas, and he had a lot of points, but that's not why Kansas won. They were worried about other matchups, and so some of that's misleading occasionally. And the way they played against and the way Maryland screwed up by not going into the post more. But I like these guys are just, they're not the reason. When MSU loses, they are never the primary reason. There are times they haven't been great in those losses, but there are always 2 or 3 reasons they could have won that game, and that didn't used to be the case. I mean, just a year ago, and they lost a lot of games because they did not have adequate play at the 5, and that's so what's changed? They just developed. Zapala is a good fit and a good matchup for what Maryland does, but Kohler is went from being a serviceable off the bench player to a look at his rebounding numbers per 40 and everything. He's an elite rebounder in college basketball. Cooper is a really good defender and is a pretty good player and certainly holds his own.
JB next. What has been the toughest environment MSU has faced? Illinois, Michigan, or Maryland? Curious about your experiences in all 3. Wins at those venues are impressive, regardless of how you play.
Yeah, Maryland impressed me. Maryland's not always that great. Maryland, a couple times. Michigan State was even rattled for a minute early on. It looked like Maryland was good. Illinois and Michigan is never. I think that hurt Michigan against Rutgers. You get a Thursday night or what, and it's Rutgers, and it just doesn't. I mean, that's where the Izzone picks Michigan State up, right? That's where the real advantage of having one of those student sections makes a difference. Illinois, to me, is it. Like that place when it's going right. Now, Michigan State made that group nervous and shut them up in the second half, but early in the game, Illinois is number 1. Maryland, I would put it right up there, though. With
Did you see Scott Van Pelt?
I didn't. I heard he was there, and I saw that.
He was like courtside. You didn't see him out.
Right? Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Man, you were locked in, dude.
I was very locked in.
Jeez, Pete, 6 takes.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Can't fuck around.
Richard Kane next. Is that Maryland student section as formidably elite in person as it seems on TV?
When they're there like that, yeah, the kind of the wall behind it was fantastic. Now I still think surrounding the whole court is a better way. Like what you get in Illinois and what you get in at Michigan State is a better way to really feel like the world is caving down on you. And Maryland's very much on the ends, but it's imposing. I feel like I'm going to be making up for this pure options mistake all day. The way I remember going to a Springsteen concert once at the Palace of Auburn Hills, and he came out and he said, "Hello Cleveland" or something like that, or "Hello Ohio," and people were like, "What the hell?" And Steve Van Zandt came out and started hitting him with a wet sponge. And he played like 4 hours after that, and he would come out before songs and he would just yell, "Fuck Ohio," and then he would, start. That's where I feel right now. I just feel bad about them. I can't
say fuck Skyman then.
Fuck Skyman. Fuck him. Fuck him.
If you're going to compare yourself to the boss, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same, the concert and show.
Yeah.
Richard Kane, Trey Holloman joins Corey Lucius to forever haunt Terp fans' basketball nightmares. Is there another instance of a team defeating an opponent twice in their series history on buzzer beaters like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's been some stuff against Ohio State, right? And that was the Denzel Valentine game on Valentine's Day, and there's been a number of last-second shots against Ohio State, and I feel like most of them have gone against MSU. Offhand, I can't think of it, and I'm probably missing something that's great. But the fact that one of them was 50, 55 feet is part of it too, and the one's in an NCAA tournament game where they get to a Final Four. Yeah, it's. I don't know that there's a better example.
Next one from Richard. If Izzo isn't the Big Ten Coach of the Year, why bother having the award?
It's the American way, except America has gotten soft.
I think part of it is you look at it from the Michigan State standpoint, and there's an argument. But there's an argument a couple other places, too. I think what Greg Gard has done at Wisconsin deserves some real credit. He lost a couple guys who were supposed to be key guys because he did really well in the portal. He put together a terrific team, and Izzo certainly is deserving of consideration. I don't think but I think Greg Gard is also, if you were a Wisconsin fan, you'd probably feel the same way.
Greg Gard, punchable face?
I don't know.
For Jawan, I guess.
Not like his predecessor. What's his nuts?
Bo Ryan?
Bo Ryan. Bo Ryan definitely had more of a punchable face than than guard. Yeah.
Shilla next. Jase Richardson is the best MSU freshman guard since Magic.
You said Gary Harris? Is he better than Gary Harris? I think he's better in certain ways, and Harris is a better defender. It's a good question. Gary Harris is so if you're gonna, I think in all these sort of things you can really, overdo it and how this guy's better than. I think basically you want to go back to where the first conversation would be, and the first conversation in freshman guard would probably be Gary Harris. I think in terms of what he's done. And if I'm missing somebody, I apologize.
Joey Sparty. Great to see a packed arena in the Maryland. Seems good for the Big Ten if that's the norm. I also appreciate a crowd that understands you can't chant air ball after the player scores again. My question, can we agree it's inappropriate to taunt air ball if they've scored since the air ball?
Yeah, no, air ball's supposed to be like the most recent thing. I mean, I guess if you keep bricking, it's fine. But yes, that should be.
As long as you keep missing, it's air ball.
Right.
But if the guy hits a bucket,
that's it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I
think you could probably bring it up. I mean, if misses another one, if he's having an off night, right? I think you could still go. You could go back to it.
So 2 air balls allow you to do it all night. I think the second air ball.
I can agree with that.
That just becomes who you are for the night.
But just because he hits one bucket does not mean you should just drop it entirely. Right, I feel like you have to hit a couple buckets. Then you go, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, I don't know.
If somebody in your life, by the way, if anybody in your life shoots some air balls and just needs a pick me up, we highly recommend Groovy Donuts. They will, look, if you're gonna just show up at a friend's house and want to make them feel better, Groovy Donuts. By the way, Punchki pre-orders for Fat Tuesday close at midnight on Saturday. That's this Saturday, March 1st. So if you want pre-orders for Punchkis for Fat Tuesday, go to groovydonuts.com and order by midnight Saturday. Groovy Donuts will be open again today, Friday, 7 to 1 p.m., Saturday, 7 to 1, Sunday, 1 p.m., both locations. And then Monday, if you do pre-order and you want to pick them up at the East Lansing location, they'll be open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Groovy Donuts. And then Tuesday they're open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. At both locations for Fat Tuesday, one of the glorious holidays in this world.
Parker Vice next. We all need you to be concerned and predict losses for every game the rest of the year, tourney included. Trick yourself into believing it, too. Thanks. Question, is there anything noteworthy about College Park? Genuinely asking. I know nothing about the place. Also, sub T.O.
Sup, T.O.?
Terrell Owens?
Might be, or his friend T.O. Somebody T.O.
We're doing shout-outs now?
Yeah, well, he asked, in the thing, it said, parentheses, please don't delete. So I didn't, I left it up for Parker.
What's up, T.O.?
Let's not make this a habit.
Please don't delete. Yeah, that's all you have to do. Just put please don't delete. We'll put it in.
I don't know that I believe they're going to, but I understand where
just
you're going.
write it.
Yeah, a lot of people would prefer that I did that. Noteworthy about College Park. I don't mind College Park. My sister went to grad school there, and so I've been down a few times. I think it's an okay campus. Great Marriott right on campus. One of my favorite campus hotels that's right in the heart of things. Solari loves this Korean barbecue that's there. There's a lot of good barbecue around.
Graham.
Trying to think if there's a good pizza place. It's a decent little campus. In the fall when we were there for football, it was like a really nice early September warm night. Students were out, and we got pretty well hammered there. Not accidentally, but just
who did?
Me and Solari and Madeline Kenny and Matt Wenzel.
I was audio of that.
I will.
Guys were hammered.
Not something I usually do. It wasn't like one of those things where you go out let's do the town tonight. It was like all of a sudden you realize, holy crap! I've had a few. Yeah.
Let's do the town tonight.
Yeah,
you better watch your ass. John, next questions about open locker rooms. Do opposing media come into the MSU locker room? National media? Are the basketball assistant coaches available in the locker room or just players?
Any media is welcome who's credentialed into the MSU locker room. So national media can. Opposing felt all of Fred Human. Opposing media could. Now, usually they're dealing with their own. You don't see that very often. The assistant coaches are usually around if you wanted to, but not usually hanging around by the time we get down there. But you'll see them here and there, and if you want to grab one, you can. I mean, not grab them, but talk to them.
Thanks for clarifying.
Don't want to go on grabbing people. It's not.
Come here. I need to talk to you. Come here, Saudi. Let me.
David Jackson next. Will Couch pick MSU to lose to Wisconsin? We all hope so. Yeah, man. Let's just
I don't think I'm going to do it. You want me to do it?
Yeah, just do it.
All right.
Does it matter? Do you do like a record? Do people check it and like keep track of your stats?
I will do it. You know what?
Just for the bit.
I'm going to write by request before I.
See, that ruins it.
Does it ruin
Never mind.
Bit?
Then just pick it like normal.
Okay.
If you're going to just put it, yeah. That doesn't count.
If I say by request?
Yeah.
Because
it just gives you an out. You got to just pick it. Like you pick it.
Yeah, I think they're going to win.
All right, fine. David Jackson, are you surprised that even a Big Ten veteran like Andy Katz would say Trey Holloway during a game? After this Maryland win, will announcers continue to do this? Well, now he's got a punchable face. Really? He said that again? Holloway?
They've. It's been amazing how many people have got. I mean, it's not the hardest name in the world,
but it's Holloman.
Right?
Holloman.
Yeah,
like Holloway. As someone that gets a lot of names wrong here. I call Joe Naughty John Naughty, or is John Naughty Joe Naughty. So I'm not, I understand, but if you're Andy Katz, you're on TV, you're a professional, and like me, I mean.
I fucked up pure options, and the name's right behind me on this screen. So I get it. But I don't do it repeatedly, and I make amends. Like if I were to do that, I would spend the rest of the broadcast just saying Holloman.
David, it's clear that Michigan will suffer no sanctions for the Stallions cheating. Absent that, is there anyone in the media who values truth and honor enough to actually get to the bottom of this? I need the Michigan coaches, AD, and president to forever carry a Hawthorne-like scarlet letter. I love David. I forgot David's passion, too. I love David's passion.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I first of all, I do think there are going to be some sanctions. I think something is going to happen, and I don't know how quickly, but I thought it would have happened by now. Is there anybody in the media who values truth and honor enough to get to the bottom of this? I want to say yes, but I will also argue that when people in the media do really important stories that take a lot of digging, they don't often get read, and it's not often worth it. I'm not saying this wouldn't be, but put it this way. I wouldn't do that story until more people read Matt Mancarini's fantastic investigation and piece on the hospitals and the amount of money that's coming in and whether that's being, whether you should read it right now. It's really good.
Where's
on the
the
merger.
link? What if
really
we read? We're going to all read it. Then
all read
can
it.
we move on out? Then what?
All got to read it.
Okay.
And I'll know it because I can see the views.
Shit,
I'll know it.
All right.
So everybody's got to read Matt Mancarini's.
I have 3 subs, so there's 3.
Yep.
Just me.
There you go.
Okay. Now
everybody
read
else,
that. Then we can move on to what? We can put Mancarini on the Stallions thing or what?
If we get if there's a certain,
like a telethon,
certain page view mark, if it hits, I guarantee I can talk Mancarini into the Stallions.
How much?
He doesn't care about page views. That's part of the charm of Mancarini. But,
what does he care about? So we can do that.
Journalism.
Oh.
Yeah. That's like his thing.
All right, then. Jebediah, let's just pretend MSU is locked into a 2 seed. Which of the top teams should MSU hope to match up against in the tourney to realistically go all the way?
Yeah, it's a good question. And so you don't want a 1 seed. Duke, Auburn. Everybody says you don't want Houston. I don't know. Like at some point you're going to face somebody.
Can't run from everyone.
Yeah, right. In other words, you're gonna have to beat somebody who is problematic for you, right? And give me 1 second. Give me some Hoff real quick.
I am the passenger.
Free Ubers.
And I ride and I ride. I ride through the city's backside. I see the stars come out of the sky.
So, is Alabama the best of the possible teams? Will somebody like Tennessee get up there? Alabama, Tennessee, better than Duke or Auburn? I understand Houston's top. The problem with Houston is I think they have a lot of the components that MSU does in terms of just like defense and grit, and like that would be a bloodbath. That may look like that Maryland game on steroids. But I don't know if there's anybody you want to run from at that point. If you're going to win a national title, and I do believe Michigan State has the capability of beating anybody on a given day. You're gonna have to beat some people, and I wouldn't run.
Matt Boone and Josh Inwood next. Is there a chance MSU can make the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, it would take a lot, but they've climbed from like a 4 to a 2 pretty quickly here. If you look at most, bracket matrix prognostications. Fuck it.
Come on.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Come on.
Some pure options to get through this here. But if they were to beat Wisconsin, Iowa, and Michigan, and then win 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, and again, the Sunday doesn't really matter in the Big Ten tournament. The NCAA tournament committee has said that. They don't really. Every once in a while, they'll, flip a game if it's real important there. But, for the most part, does not matter. It would be really interesting to see if they closed that impressively. Again, they're done winning on the road against good teams because Iowa's the only one left. But Wisconsin and Michigan would be 2 really good wins. If they beat them, they'd beat Michigan twice. They'd close with 7 straight wins in the regular season against who they've beaten, and then went to the Big Ten tournament and got to like the final. It would be interesting to see how Alabama's stacked up against Michigan State. I think there would be a pretty decent argument that Michigan State could still be a 1 seed just based on how they've climbed. You look at and Florida and Tennessee, it seems like a lot to climb, but there's still some good wins ahead for Michigan State. I don't think it's out of the realm. I think Duke and Auburn and probably Houston are not going to be caught, but I think that 4th 1 seed could be caught if Michigan State finished really, really well.
Jeffrey Mulder next. Duke and Auburn being 1 and 2. Who are the other top teams as well as potential bracket killer teams that would cause matchup concerns if in our bracket?
Yeah, Houston I mentioned. Florida, Tennessee, Alabama are all the teams that are going to be there as the other potential ones. There are teams that there are teams that I watch sometimes, and then you watch, like I watched Iowa State at one point this year and thought, boy, that's a matchup you don't want to face again. And then you watch them the other night and they looked awful. And I think there really aren't. I think Michigan State on its best day, Michigan State's mentally tough enough to play with anybody. And I just think that, if you can avoid Duke and Auburn, you do. But even those teams are beatable. 2 teams have beaten Auburn, 3 have beaten Duke. Everybody's beatable that's out there. Now, one of the teams that beat Auburn is Duke. So, a reminder, and the other game was Florida, who's way up there. I mean, Auburn, the thing about Auburn is they don't have what Michigan State had in February. They don't have that Indiana loss. They don't have the loss at USC. They just, they just played Mississippi, for example, who's a top 25 Ken Palm team, and they won by 30 on Wednesday, right? They won by double digits against Georgia, who's a top 40 Ken Palm team. They won by 9 against Alabama, who's a top 6 on the road. Auburn is the team that I think even more than Duke, I would avoid as long as you could.
Next one from Jeffrey. Who's your pick to win the Big Ten tourney?
It'll be somebody who really wants. It won't be Michigan State. I'm not saying it couldn't happen because there was a year where they didn't want to. Cash Winston tried to check out in the 2019 Big Ten tourney. He did. I've never seen him look less interested in playing Ohio State. And then Foster Loyer came around and screwed it up and hit 4 3-pointers, and they won. The next day they had a good matchup against Wisconsin, and then they played Michigan in the final. At that point, you're playing Michigan, and it's the final. I don't think Michigan State will check out in the same way, but the thing is, this 2 months, this Big Ten championship means so much to them. And there's such a hunger, such a drive. They've had to overcome quite a bit. And if they pull this off and do this, it will mean so much that there will be a little bit of a natural exhale. And I don't think they'll be able to think of the Big Ten tournament as meaningful. But for some teams, it'll be really important. Like if you're Wisconsin and you think you're the best team, say Wisconsin win or lose against Michigan State, you may think you're the best team in the Big Ten still. But you had a couple hiccups, you didn't win it. That'll matter. Oregon, the teams that think that they have something to prove, that like the teams out west that are good, the UCLA's, Oregon, that may have been beaten up a little by the travel, and yet now everybody's in one spot in Indianapolis for 3 days. I think those are teams to watch. Maryland I like a lot. They're just not that deep, and that's a lot in 3 days. I don't love Michigan in the Big Ten tournament. Michigan's getting by on the skin of its teeth right now, and I think there are better teams out there. Purdue doesn't have the depth. I would say it's going to be a Wisconsin, Oregon, UCLA would be my 3 if I sort of looked at it right now.
Alex Mayer, if Trey doesn't hit that shot, who wins the game?
Yeah. Michigan State was the better team for 75% of it, but you get to overtime, who the hell knows? It's
with the refs, you never know.
Possible to know. Yeah.
Alex, worst teams to match up against in the Big Ten tournament?
Yeah, hungry teams that you beat once. I would say Oregon is one that you want to be a little careful. They just beat Wisconsin on the road. They were up big at Michigan State. Michigan State had that second half. I think Oregon's going to be dangerous. If you beat Wisconsin here, Michigan even, if you beat Michigan again at Breslin, beating a team a third time. Now Michigan State's done it before. But I would say those are the teams that were, and then teams that are sort of desperate and on the bubble, and you don't want to mess with those teams. I don't think Rutgers has the overall defensive acumen to do it, but Indiana. I understand MSU would play that game differently and would be better. I don't think MSU wants to mess with Indiana. Indiana's a decent team. They're playing a lot better, and they might think there's still work to do then.
Next one from Alex. What is the origin of Hoff?
When did Hoff start?
It was at the beginning because we were, we're a 2-man band pretty much, and if you needed to look something up, I think that we just needed some sort of, or maybe it started after we were doing the 5 days a week thing, or did we do it then?
It was pretty early.
But it was just if you needed to look something up, some meaningless shit, that we just needed something to play.
And I think it happened to be Hasselhoff for a little while, and then we just started calling it Hoff. It wasn't intentional that it was Hoff originally.
But that's Hasselhoff's nickname, though, the Hoff.
Right, but I'm saying you weren't intentionally playing Hoff originally. You were playing filler music.
That I have no idea.
I think you were playing more different
things. I don't know why.
It just became.
I think it was Hoff to begin. I don't know.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I really, honestly, would have to go back and that'll never happen. But
yeah.
Anyway, all right. Voice of Gorham softball next. Need your professional opinion. I'm doing play-by-play for Gorham softball this season on the Game Changer app. Tops out at about 12 viewers, mostly grandparents that can't make it to the game. If I ask the local pizza joint for a 6-inch sub and a sack of chips, is that enough to be a presenting sponsor? A sack of chips. Why wouldn't you ask for a pizza?
That's a good point.
If they give you one per game, that's technically a presenting sponsor. I mean,
yeah. 12 viewers, mostly grandparents that can't make it to the game. I love it. I think based on your viewership, that would be if you can get free food out of this would be a good NIL deal for you. But it could be, you could have some fun with this. I think that, that does sound like a,
Graham knows he did LCC men's basketball.
Men's and women's. Yeah,
men's and women's back in the day where there was one.
98, 99. No, we had quite a few. And the funny thing is, because it was on WLNZ, RIP.
They're dead?
It's not a station anymore, right?
Oh.
The LCC doesn't have it. But it was also the only jazz station in Lansing. So a lot of people listened to it in offices and other places. And so I remember showing up for a doctor's appointment, and this is I'm still in college. Nobody knows me from anybody, and being recognized for my voice, and people, because you're the guy.
Hey, there's that asshole that interrupted our fun jazz.
That's what it was.
Sesh that we had going on in our office.
It's like, this is our office music, our jazz, and then here comes Couch with 4 hours of LCC men's and women's basketball. Yeah.
MZA, what matchup challenges does Wisconsin present for MSU?
Well, a number of them. Offensively, they're really good. I mean, you're talking about like the top 10 in the country efficiency. Probably, one in conference play. They've been, John Tanji has been fantastic and probably, maybe the Big Ten Player of the Year. Great. Get out of the portal, an Omaha guy. I think that's one of the reasons. Remember, Fiddler was originally going to go to Wisconsin. They really did a nice job, and in Blackwell, the kid from Michigan's really improved. I mean, they're offensively, you'll see it Sunday. Like, that's as efficient, as nice an offense in college basketball as there is. And so they're they can shoot, they can beat you a number of ways, and they are a challenge for sure.
MZA next. Is it time to limit Aiken's minutes? The other guards bring a similar level of defense intensity on defense, while at least providing some offensive production.
Intensity is not the same as quality, though. I would argue that Aikens is the best of the four guards. He is the best defender in terms of what he can do on a multitude of matchups and his ability to really, really shut somebody down. I think he's the best of them. I think he is. I think all the guys are good and can be really good. But I think Aikens is a difference maker on that end, and I think they know it, and that's why they also need him to shoot a little bit better. Because, I mean, you go back to that game in the Sweet 16, I honestly believe Michigan State beats Kansas State if they had put him on Marquise Noel earlier. And when they put Aikens on him late, it was different. Now, Noel had like that little bit of an ankle twist or something, so he wasn't – maybe that had something to do with it too, but it was very different. I thought that late adjustment helped, but also came way too late. And he just I think there is a difference. I don't think intensity is the same as quality, and I think Aikens gives you a little more than some other guys and more versatility in that with bigger guys, smaller guys, and everything.
MZA, how does MSU replace Jase Richardson's offensive production next year?
If he goes, that's tricky. You need development. Obviously Trey Holloman's back. You would assume. Jeremy Fears. You would think would take a sizable step. Kurt Tang will be part of the rotation. They got a couple wings coming in that they like a lot, and one of those guys could be really good right away. Just like we didn't see Jase Richardson being really good right away, right? So you don't know entirely. They probably, if they lose Jase Richardson, they're probably going to want to go into the portal as well and add a guard. But I think the biggest thing you hope if you're Michigan State right now is still that you don't lose Jase Richardson.
Cracker Sofa, if this team makes a Final Four, does Jase declare for the NBA draft? And if this team doesn't make a Final Four, how big of a bag does Ishbia have to drop to retain Jase?
I don't know if the Final Four makes the difference. I think ultimately for Richardson, it's got to be, is he he's going to be a first-round pick, it seems, if he goes. Does he want to go? Does he want to live that now? And also, what's the great? Is there a threat to his stock if he comes back? And sometimes there is. That's the way the NBA operates. Is he hotter now with the intrigue about his potential than he will be a year from now? Is it best for him to go now? I don't know. And does he want to live that life as young as he is? But I do think NIL changes the equation for some kids. Now with him, with his parents having, coming from means and all that stuff, but he's certainly a $1 million a year player, I would think. I think that's and those are guys you have to be able to. If Jase Richardson wants to go to the NBA, that's fine. You never want to lose a guy because you couldn't afford him in the NIL space, and that's what's happened to Wisconsin and Iowa and Minnesota. You don't want to ever be there, right? You want to make sure, you may not pay the transfer $1.5 million or $2 million that you don't know if it's going to help you, but your own guy who's earned it, who is a difference maker. Those are the guys you want to make sure you pay to keep.
David Cox next. If a guy leads the league in efficiency, is the best two-way guy, leads the league in wins, why are they not going to vote for him as Big 19 Player of the Year? Bonus. Has a player's team ever finished 6th or 7th in the league and been Player of the Year?
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, the league didn't used to be quite this big, but that's a good question on like how far down and who is dominant. I'm sure there's been a situation where there's been a really dominant player on a team that was otherwise somewhat mediocre. Are you talking about Richardson's the best two-way guy, leads the league and wins? And the problem for Richardson is that he's come off this. Before February, there was just no argument, right? And so it's. I don't think his story is written. I think that's the other thing too. He's been fantastic. What does he do against Wisconsin? What do they do at Iowa? What does he do against Michigan? Like if they finish really, really strong and he continues to play the way he is, yeah, absolutely. That's why I wrote it about the Freshman of the Year conversation and maybe even the Player of the Year conversation. But he would have to me, really, really have an epic finish to be surging into the Player of the Year conversation.
Ethan Charmella next. What's your prediction on the significance of the MSU-Michigan game to end the season?
So I think Michigan drops one. I don't know if MSU does. But keep in mind, if Michigan drops just one, even then, if Michigan won the game, they would earn a share of it. So I think there will be stakes for the title on the line. And I think that's good. I mean, I understand it doesn't feel like you should beat them twice, but if Michigan wins one of those games and then like they should, and they earn a title, that's fair. But my guess is, if I had to guess it right now, just based on I'm predicting Michigan State to beat Wisconsin, which may not happen. I think Michigan to lose once. Michigan State would be wise not to screw around at Iowa, and then Michigan State's up a game with Michigan coming in. So there will be stakes in terms of winning it outright on the line. And if they're tied, even if Michigan State loses once, they can win it outright by beating Michigan as well.
Next one from Ethan. If you both needed a fill-in, what two current Spartan Hoops players would put on the most entertaining Couch in the Rube episode?
Well, I mean, who really would buy into the pure options culture here?
You tell me. You talk to these guys. I don't know.
No, I'd say that's a really good question. Who I would go to
Cohen Carr has to be.
Cohen Carr would be interesting.
Talk about dunking.
Yeah, just in terms of guys who would be really entertaining and maybe Jeremy Fears, a little bit of an edge to him.
Yeah.
Good
stories. He's probably got one or two good stories.
Yeah, it might. Yeah,
stories worth telling.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
Skylar Verdon, question: can you guys stop me from emotional hedging against Michigan State? I've lost a lot of money during this winning streak they are on because I keep betting against them for emotional reasons. God damn it, Skylar, stop.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We've been saying it's not ever worth it.
Give me your phone. I'm deleting your apps.
It's rarely worth it because you start thinking weird thoughts during the game. Who do you really want to win? It's just not. Don't bet against your heart. It's never. Rarely is it ever going to play out. Yeah, it just sucks. It ruins the experience. And so don't do it. Just don't do it. That's just. I don't know what else to tell you, but don't do it. I'm not saying bet on them because then you're doubling down on your heart. But don't bet against them.
You might as well keep going though to finish out the year. Just keep betting against them.
Maybe you're the reason the streak's happening.
Right,
so you have to bet against them.
Couch has to do it. You have to do it too, Verd.
It would be irresponsible for you not to.
Hopeless fanatic. What one player from the past does this team most need to get over the hump?
So if you're to add a play, well, there's lots of great players, but
Denzel. I was watching. They had some Denzel clips yesterday. I was there after the game on what night was it? Wednesday night, right? I was like, man, I miss Denzel. What a player.
I was actually going to say him. I think that's a great choice because you think about not just was he a 19-7-7 guy. I mean, that's an incredible stat as a college guy, but he was like a 45% 3-point shooter too. So he would solve some of the shooting woes. He could play on the ball or off it. He would fit into what they're doing. He'd give them length on the wing. I think he would be a great choice.
Captain Sparty, can we win it all?
Yes, you can. But yeah, there are probably 8
it could
teams
go
that
either
can.
way.
But I do think Michigan State has shown that it's probably one of the 8 teams that have a chance. And is it in the upper tier of those 8? Probably not. But they're in that conversation, and you never know. The year they won it, Cincinnati had the Kenyon Martin injury. Right, there have been years where, there's been bad luck and good luck. Luck plays in a role. Somebody could lose somewhere along the way, and you could avoid a matchup. I think it's feasible. I do think whoever they play, that if somebody does beat them, I think they'll put up a fight. Nobody has run this team off the floor, and I don't think anybody will. I really don't. I don't think Auburn runs this team off the floor. I think they would hang in there, and I don't know that they'd have enough, but I think they would hang in there. So I don't think they should necessarily fear anybody or they're not capable of it. It's just I certainly wouldn't pick them, but I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to think. I don't think it's an unreasonable hope.
Mr. Neurotic Pants, remind me, didn't Vegas predict MSU would win the Big Ten this year?
They did not. MSU was like 11-1 to win the Big Ten at one point, and yeah, they did not. They did not pick it.
Neurotic Pants. Does the MSU hockey team need a cooler full or Red Bull or stronger whatever happens here? Stronger substances? They have so much more talent than anyone else, but they seem to fall on their dicks lately.
Well, Penn State's playing really well. You know, some people said they're not the team they were earlier in the year. I don't. I'm curious to see Penn State at home against Minnesota this weekend, because that'll be a test to, like, Penn State's playing very well. Minnesota's obviously legit as well. So we'll get a sense of how bad a weekend that was for MSU. And then what do they do when they go down to Notre Dame and still have a chance at a Big Ten title if the weekend goes well? Like that, Notre Dame's not a good team this year. They ought to win that, and they ought to look the part.
Shep, next. Graham, an idea on how you can fund the Lansing Promise, because cheap-ass Magic won't. Could you follow Adrian Wojnarowski's lead and sell the laptop you used to write the Alex Carter is better than Kirk Cousins story? The phone you used to tweet that MSU was matchup proof. The Fire Stick you used to host the first and only Hallmark movie bingo watching party in the history of mankind.
Oh, there have been multiple Hallmark movie bingo watching parties. I've never been the host. I just show up at them. Actually, my wife and I have been the host at other ones. But yeah, there have been at least dozens of these things at this point.
We've been Fire Sticks.
I don't know what they'd go for, but this laptop here is a replica. It's like the second version of the one that I wrote that Alex Carter one on. It's a warhorse. Maybe it's the third one, but yeah, it's been around a while at this point.
Ken Chu. Did you see Frank Ragnow fishing with Kevin Van Dam on the Van Dam Experience show this week? Frank also has a YouTube channel, Grizzly Man Outdoors, with lots of Lions fishing content.
I did not see it, but I will check it out. Kevin Van Dam is somebody I got to know pretty well and like a lot. He's
like Rob Van Dam, the wrestler there.
Well, no, he's from Kalamazoo, and he big fisherman on Bassmasters. Won the Bassmasters Classic and all that stuff. And when I was in Kalamazoo, I was also the outdoors editor of the Kalamazoo Gazette, which was well casted assignment, and it's where we used to hide my overtime. It was like, how long does it take? It took 20 hours this week to do the outdoor section. Don't worry about it. But I got to know Kevin a little bit and spent some time with him and did a number of stories with him. So always was a really, really good guy. And the best thing I like about when he won the Bassmasters Classic one of those years, he took his wife. They went to, and maybe this was near where it was, but they went to Niagara Falls, stayed in a hotel overlooking the falls. And, Kevin Van Dam was a big name in bass fishing, still is. Big name, well known. But, this wouldn't happen to an NBA player, but I just remember talking to him while he was on the balcony. I wasn't on the balcony with him, but overlooking the falls. And he was just in awe. He's like, this is amazing. Does everybody know about this Niagara Falls place? Like, he was just like, it was so innocent. And for a guy who was that big a deal, I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah. That is a story worth telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company and downtown Lansing. Yeah, thank you.
Professional bass fisherman shocked by the Niagara Falls. I love it. Senior Riverboat Tubin update on Mel's legal proceeding. Is he getting the bag?
Yeah, I don't know where anything's going there.
We don't have enough time for all of that.
Unfortunately, we don't have time.
Thank you. Well played. I don't know where the latest is on that. I apologize.
Senior Riverboat. Top 3 domestic cities you have not been to and are yearning to go.
Huh. That's a good question.
How about one domestic city?
Savannah, Georgia, I'd like to go to at some point.
Really?
Yeah, Savannah. My wife went, and I didn't get to go. I've never been to New Orleans either. These are places in the deep South that aren't great for the muskox flannels certain times of year, so I don't, it'd have to be the right time of year. Yeah, like, I don't know, places out west that I haven't been, like, Montana and
Wyoming. You visit Cody?
I would love to do that. Yeah, there are lots of places I haven't been I would love to go to. Most of this country I'd like to see.
Senior Riverboat Tubin, would you ever take a Waymo? Do they have them in Vegas yet? Going to Vegas next month. So, I would take one from casino to casino, but like to the airport. Waymo is like the self-driving cars, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I trust it to go far.
I don't know.
I trust it to go down like on the strip or take me to one place to yeah.
I would trust it in very short distances at slow speeds.
Alex James, how has Raccoon Graham been? Does he have big plans for Fat Tuesday?
It is a holiday in the Couch household. I am never been a huge Punchki guy, although Groovy Donuts Punchkis, there's a difference, and I'm telling you right now, they're fantastic. Again, groovydonuts.com, pre-orders by Saturday night. But
Punchki.
Yeah, I will probably swing by Groovy Donuts, get a Punchki, because they do it so damn well. And I can't promise that I won't get into some other stuff. It happens, especially on a day that's named Fat Tuesday. It's also like if you're going to start a diet. And I think anybody who's done, you're always looking for days. Like, it's the first of the month. I'm going to be better this month. Beginning of the week, I'm going to be better this week. The beginning of Lent, right, and Ash Wednesday is always a great start. I'm just going to do better in Lent till Easter. You know what I mean? Like, and so Fat Tuesday is a great day to just really indulge yourself and then be a little bit better. But as we always say, do not give up Groovy Donuts for Lent. It does not bring happiness. That's not what Jesus would want.
Alex James, would you ever raw dog a filet mignon like Hondo did? What's your preferred cook on a steak? What did Hondo do?
He raw dogged it?
He had sex with a filet mignon.
I think he just didn't put any seasoning on it, maybe? Is that what he's talking about? I don't know. I love, yeah. I mean,
did Hondo show a picture of his steak like he had?
I love a really good tender steak. Yeah.
All right, Gorjo next. In lots of smaller schools, the only opportunity for girls to play golf, wrestle, swim, bowl, etc., they have to join the boys' team. Do people who claim they are protecting girls in sports know they are also making that illegal and creating fewer opportunities for girls?
So, this is a complex deal, right? And because I don't think people think things through like this all that much. I went to a high school where the girls had to play on the boys' soccer team. I think there are people who generally do have daughters and are worried about protecting girls' sports and want their girls not to play, against people who were born as a boy or whatever, and that's the concern. I just think a lot of having this discussion and this conversation, which could be a real productive, serious conversation, is lost because some people are so baked in hate and intolerance for the trans community. And that's not everybody. I've heard from a lot of people who, I generally will take them at their word that their concern is their daughters and their what. Okay, but I just think it's hard to have this discussion when so much of the community that's on one side of it is just basically anti-trans. It's like COVID. We dealt with this a little bit too, where like there were lots of mistakes made in COVID, lots of well-intended mistakes made by health officials and people as we were learning about something and trying to figure out what was best and what we did with schools and all that stuff. But at the time, it was so hard to make arguments because there were so many unreasonable people on the other side who didn't have anything backing up their own claims. And just because certain parts of them turned out to be right or certain people, there was overreach in certain ways, it just made it so difficult to have real, honest, meaningful conversations at the time. And I think that's one of the issues we run into with that.
Gorjo, after someone threw debris, excuse me, Jesus, someone threw debris on the court, the ref said that if it happens again, it would be a technical against Maryland. Why didn't any of the MSU fans in attendance immediately throw a hot dog out there to get our boys some shots and the ball? Seems like a missed opportunity.
I could have taken like Solari, just picked him up by the back of the pants and thrown him on the court, and I will. No, it is. I think it speaks to the you wanting to win something the right way. But yeah, no, somebody else brought that up too. It's
Hummel during the game.
Did Hummel bring that up?
Yeah,
their fans did.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's.
He said, "Why didn't an MSU guy throw it?" So.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Steve Whittico, the EPL creates excitement that American leagues fail to. Liverpool appears to be a done deal, but places 3 and 10 in the standings are separated by 6 points. Which of those 3 teams do you think miss a European spot? Do you think any bottom halfers sneak up?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the way the Premier League works, there are no playoffs, right? And so it looks like Liverpool's going to win it, but you want to finish in the top 4 because the top 4 comes with Champions League place the following season. Like, that's a big deal to be in the top 4. And then there's the Europa League and Conference League spots and like that. You know, I do not think that Aston Villa, I don't have a lot of faith in right now. But everybody else you can make a case for. Brighton, Bournemouth, probably Brentford not, but Bournemouth, Brighton, and Newcastle, and I think Man City will be okay at the time. I think it's going to be fascinating right there. The thing that really sucks to me is one of the more fun things is in relegation when you don't have where you have the bottom 3 teams go down and they're fighting. Those spots seem to be well determined too this year. I think that's the best thing about the Big Ten's done with this new Big Ten tournament, frankly, is that you have teams fighting just to get in the tournament. Like at the bottom, things matter, and those games become far more interesting than they used to. And I think that's a really cool thing. By the way, if you want to watch any of the Big Ten tournament games, will be on like at middle of the day all the time. Next week or in 2 weeks, sorry, and next week the women's Big Ten tournament, same deal. Front 43 and Cask & Company, awesome place, great TV setup, great lunch, good happy hour specials. Again, go to caskandcompany.com if you want to make a reservation at night, especially Thursday through Sunday. Great reservation system, but just awesome menu and drink selection. Great place to watch the Big Ten tournament.
Next one from Steve, best Hackman film. I mean, you can say Hoosiers, but I haven't watched that in forever.
Yeah, I mean, Hoosiers is my favorite. But here's one of my absolute favorites where he plays the villain is Runaway Jury with Rachel Vines and what's his name? John Cusack. Runaway Jury is like a top 10 movie for me all time. I think it's that good. And Hackman's
it's a tough list to crack, by the way, too. That's top 10 of couches.
It is.
I mean, man.
Hackman's a jackass in it, but that's one of my favorites. And it was pretty, one of his later films.
Hans, with about 1 minute and 15 seconds left in the Maryland game, Richardson rebounded his own shot and was trapped underneath the basket. Could Izzo have taken a timeout there? Richardson ended up throwing up a missed shot underneath the basket.
That's a good question.
Don't coach my team.
Yeah, he could have. I mean, I think he trusted
Izzo loves
Jase.
his timeouts, though.
Yeah, he trusted Jase there too.
Those.
Yeah, he did say that at one point Jase was cramping up and he was, didn't realize that right away. That moment did not, I mean, obviously they were not great down the stretch. That was not one of those moments where I thought there was a mess up. I understand him trusting Richardson.
Hans, Jurgen next. When the clock is running down, shouldn't the ball be in Richardson's hands rather than Fears? If we're going to run the pick and roll with the shot clock running down, shouldn't it be with Kohler, not Cooper? At least Kohler can shoot.
Yeah, there's some fair points here. The one thing with Fears, and Richardson is so good coming off like a secondary, pin down or whatever, and getting the ball on the move, and I think that's where he is as absolute best. But you're right, and we saw his ability to create space. I think that's something I don't think you're wrong, and if your action is as simple as it's going to be one of the two guys in the action on a pick and roll, then it should be Kohler, not Cooper. Unless it's going to be at the rim where you're looking at an alley-oop or something.
Next one from Hans. It's well documented that MSU's three-point shooting sucks, but it seems our opponents also suck at hitting threes when they play us. Can a team be good at defending the three? Is that luck or a skill?
No, that's a skill. That's a skill, and that's not just determination, but that's understanding, it's discipline. And you saw it against Purdue, I think was the best example of this. Purdue had a number of guys who struggled to get threes off. Now, Purdue still shot an okay percentage in that game, but they really they were on guys real quick. And now you can make uncomfortable, you can make guys doubt whether they can get it off. It's a skill, and MSU is as good as anybody at it.
Jake Hawkins next. After Wednesday's epic 8th win in a row over the defending NBA champion Celtics, how seriously are you taking the Detroit Pistons?
Yeah, 8 wins now? That's really seriously in terms of, could they win a playoff series? I want them to play the Knicks in the 6-3. They may get up to the 5 or 4. I mean, they're starting to get some real national attention. I'm losing a bet that I'm happy to lose. I have 2 Pistons futures. I have 3 Pistons futures. I'm winning 2 of them. Over 25.5 wins, winning by a ton. Did you have anything on the Pistons overs?
No.
To make the playoffs pays really well, and I had that. Now, these are all flyers. These are not things I would have recommended. I didn't know this was going to happen. The one I'm going to lose that I'm happy to lose is I had Pistons to make the play-in, which was still long odds. But they've won so much they're going to miss the play-in the other way, and that's why I'm going to lose that particular bet. Yeah, I want them to beat the Knicks, and I want it to be the game where if the Knicks don't win, James Edwards has to come home. Like the Knicks have to be better than the Pistons, or James Edwards has to come back and cover the Pistons.
We're dropping MFers now?
Next one from the Hawk. Did you see in recent Bleacher Report NBA mock draft that Jase Richardson goes 10 overall? Do you think he'll get tempted to leave after the season?
I don't know who does their mocking. The big problem Bleacher Report has to me is that they began sort of as this big time aggregation, but like it wasn't like they would have somebody like Sam Vecini from The Athletic doing that. It would just be some dude, right? Which is fine. Nothing wrong with
some guy
dude
that watches ball.
Yeah. Some guy just this
crushes tape.
This seems right, but without sources or anything like that. And so I don't know if it's, and they do more legitimate stuff now, but they started that way. So I just don't read their stuff or pay attention to them.
Isn't NBADraft.net usually pretty good?
Yeah, there are a bunch of them. Yeah, there are a bunch of them do decent jobs. And if you see somebody doing too many mock drafts, that's a red flag too. Like you should do one in January, one in March. Like you should start to,
mock draft 3.0.
Yeah. This week, I think this.
That's the NFL guys. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not. Yeah. So,
changing my mock draft.
I think. Yeah. I mean, I think he's going to be a first round pick, and he's got that opportunity. Temptation is an interesting word there. I think if the opportunity is right and he wants to go, he'll go. I don't know where his head is on that.
Last one from the Hawk. What's the probability that MSU can go 3-0 in their last 3 games? 100% if Graham picks against them.
Yeah, I'd say it's decent. I mean, I think they're, I think they beat Michigan at home. Iowa on the road. I think one thing that helps is a guy like Akins was part of that collapse a couple of years ago there in that final minute. They'll remember that. This Wisconsin one's the one that's the closest, I think, to 50-50. Wisconsin's legitimate. But I'm probably going to pick them to win all 3 games the rest of the way. So they'll go on 3. Apologies. Unless Jason gives me permission to say by request.
I mean, you can.
Then I give him.
Doesn't count.
Okay. We appreciate all of you. Mostly pure options. If you're listening to this podcast, Lord help you, and I really hope you've already got several MGs at Pure Options. Go to pureoptions.com. Find the location nearest you. Stop on by. You'll enjoy the experience. First-time customers, free 8th of ProGrow. Look, you know how we feel about them and how they've treated us. Let them treat you as well as they've treated us. Pureoptions.com. Download the app today. We also appreciate our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app, Front 43 and Cask & Company, and, of course, Groovy Donuts. Deadline tomorrow night, Saturday night, for pre-orders for Fat Tuesday. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.